Good morning, you precious, precious saints. I am so excited this morning, excuse me, to share. I can't tell you, like I said, this whole learning about the tithing the Jewish ways. It's new for me as well, but it is so exciting. And of course, you end up going down rabbit trails, and it happens. But I've got some really good stuff I want to share with you today that has certainly helped me put a lot of stuff into perspective. Because I think that I don't think most of us actually, know too much sort of like who is the Kohanim, what's the difference between the Kohanim and the Levites, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that it can be a little bit confusing, because I know that I was a little bit confused, trying to figure out, well, why does the Kohanim get and the Levites get it? Anyway. So we're gonna look at a little bit of that today. But first of all, welcome. Welcome to the 18th of August, 2024. A nice chilly morning again. Certainly are having a fantastic winter this year. Thank you, Abba. So, yes, welcome to the 18th of August. All right, so I'm going to try and get through all of this as much as I can, all of it if I can, today, and then we can have a look at some more. So as I said, we're looking at all of these things, and there's the Masah, and there's the Teruma, and there's the Tzedekah, and there's all these different things, and like who gets what, and why the first fruit, and then also the 10th, and so I wanted to create like a bit of a platform, a foundation that we could actually properly build on to understand who was what and why, etc., etc. So I think the first thing that sort of like came to me to try and understand is, what was the difference between the Levites, or the Levatim, as they are referred to, and the Kohanim? I couldn't understand what the difference is, okay? Because we're to take both to the Kohanim and we're to take to the Levites. So I was trying to understand. So when we look at it, we see, first of all, that the Levites at Sinai, we see that the Levites were the only tribe. I remember there were 12 tribes. The Levitical tribe was the only tribe that remained loyal to Abba Father by not worshipping the golden calf. It was only the tribe of Levi, and therefore the Levites were then designated as the priestly tribe. Okay, they then were the priestly tribe. They were also in Egypt. They were considered the learned ones. Okay, so they also had different jobs. In Egypt, the Egyptians, as we know, the Israelites they did physical hard labor, but the Levites were considered educated, so they didn't do physical hard labor, they did other work. Very interesting. Anyway, so today the Levam are believed to be direct sort of in the lineal descendants of Levi. Okay, while the Kohanim, while being Levites, the Kohanim are also Levites. Okay, there's where I was confused. The Kohanim are also Levites, but the Kohanim are direct descendants of their father Aaron. The Aaronic blessing, how we see how the oil was poured over and dripped off of Aaron's beard. So the Kohanim are high priests in the tribe of Levi, while the Levitical tribe is the priestly tribe from the descendants of Levi. Okay, so the function of the Kohanim, they are considered the high priests. So the function of the Kohanim was they were the only ones who were allowed to perform temple sacrifices. So a regular Levite wasn't allowed to do that. It had to be a person from Aaron, okay, the Kohanim, the high priest. Only they were allowed to perform temple sacrifices. They were also granted the first preferences in the synagogue when it came to reading the Torah, and obviously pronouncing the priestly blessing over the congregation at any festivals and whatever. They were also the ones who would officiate at the ritual whereby a father redeems his firstborn son. Remember, we spoke about that with the 5 silver coins, etc., etc. It was them. They were the only ones who were allowed to do that. And that, just as a matter of interest, that those 5 silver coins usually used to go back to the son. So now when we look at the function of the Levim, the Levim's principal role in the temple included singing the psalms during the services, performing construction and maintenance for the temple. You see, you had to be basically a priest to be able to perform construction and maintenance on the temple. They served as guards, and they performed obviously other services necessary services around the temple. Okay, the Levites also served as teachers. They served as judges. And they maintained cities of refuge in biblical times. So they were like the government, if you would. Okay. Abba also made a covenant with the Levites, because when the Israelites once again rebelled and committed idolatry and everything against the Lord, the golden calf, etc., at Sinai, it was the sons of Levi that stood with Moses. Now, we can also see there's another place here where harlotry was committed, and once again it was the sons of Levi that stood with Moses in this, specifically the guy by the name of Phinehas, who was actually Aaron's grandson, who fulfilled the law of Moshe when he killed an Israeli man and a Midianite woman who had committed harlotry in the camp. Then, because of Phinehas's obedience, Abba made a covenant with the Levitim. Okay, so we don't have time, but you can go to Numbers 25 verses 1 through 13, and you can go and read up about that. All right, so we see that both the Levitim and the Kohanim are Levites. It's just that the Kohanim are descendants from Aaron, and but the whole tribe of Levi, of the Levites, is they come from Jacob and Leah, right? The Levites were called to teach and to administer God's laws to the Jewish people, right? Including the laws of atonement for sin. Sure, that just, I just go, okay, well, that's the fivefold ministry, isn't it? That's Ephesians 4, isn't it? But their primary responsibility, now listen to this. Yes, they're called to teach, they're called to do this, but listen to their primary responsibility. Their primary responsibility in the service of Adonai Elohim was to bring the Jewish people closer to Adonai. Okay, the word Levi in Hebrew, it means attach. That's why Leah called her third son Levi, because it's a long story. Anyway, she wanted Jacob obviously to love her more, etc., etc. So that's why she called Levi. That's why she called him Levi, to attach Jacob to herself. Anyway, so Levi means attach. So the function of the Levites, right, was to attach themselves to Yutevave, to Adonai, through intimate prayer and service, concentrated and focused, continual time before him and with him. And in so doing, attached Israel, the other 11 tribes, to Yahweh by interceding and administering their sin offerings and making atonement and all of that kind of thing. So they would attach themselves to Abba through this time spent in the Word and just with Abba in His presence, and just really attaching themselves to Him. And then they were almost like the bridge. That was their job. Then they would attach the people, the other 11 tribes, to Abba. So they were like what's the word? I want to almost call it a link. Okay. There's another nice word, but I can't think of it right now. I don't have time to think. All right. So this was so that all of Israel, right, would become a kingdom of priests, right? And, the whole of Israel was to become a kingdom of priests unto Adonai. Okay, because what do the priests do? They bring up sacrifices, they love him, they adore him, they sing to him. So this was their job. So it's just as the Levites were attached to the Lord, so all of Israel would then be the Lord's heritage through their Messiah and high priest, and so bless the whole earth. We can see right throughout the word it says that the Jews will bless. And just look at the world today. We've got the most incredible medical breakthroughs because of the Jews. We've got all of the stuff. Got so much I want to get through. Okay, but okay. All right. So, despite Levi's rocky start, because believe me, there was a rocky start there. I mean, once again, you can go and read up about it and all of that. But we see how Abba changes it for his good, because that's what he does. He's good like that. So we see an incredible covenant that Yahweh makes with Levi. And we can read that in Malachi 2, verses 4 through 7. I'm going to do it in the complete Jewish, but you can read it in anything. It's lovely. Then you will know that I sent you this command to affirm my covenant with Levi, says Adonai Tzavot. My covenant with him was one of life and peace, and I gave him these things. It was also one of fear, and he feared me. He was in awe of my name. The true Torah was in his mouth, and no dishonesty was found on his lips. He walked with me in peace and uprightness, and turned away many from sin. A Cohen's lips should safeguard knowledge, and people should seek Torah from his mouth, because he is the messenger of Adonai Tzavot. Now, it's incredible when one reads about all the anger and the hatred and the detestable deeds that Levi and his brothers committed. Okay, but the Lord's view of his servant Levi is so different from the account of his earthly actions. Now, you may ask, how can a man filled with such cruelty and anger towards other men be given God's covenant of peace with all men? It's because Abba is good. He's good, and it was and it is his will to bring about a redemptive plan through the Jews, despite their fallen condition. Remember, the gifts and calling of God are irrevocable. He doesn't take them back. That's Romans 11:29. The gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. He doesn't. He's not a man that he should lie. He doesn't change. There are no shifting shadows in him. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Oh, thank you, Abba. And that in itself is just such security for us. Anyway, I've got so much here that I need to. Now, because I do want to go on here, but at the same time, I don't want to leave it kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to just, because it is important that we understand this, okay? Because as believers and followers of Yeshua, we know and we understand that the only way to the Father is through the narrow gate, okay? That Yeshua, he is the way, the truth, and the life. And that the only way to the Father God was through his victorious sacrifice, so that mankind could be redeemed and reconciled back to Abba Father. And then, of course, it was given to mankind then to make his decision, whatever he wanted to do. However, the promise of God's redemptive blessing for all of Israel and eventually the world would, for a time, come through the sons of Levi, and specifically Aaron, who, of course, was the brother of Moses, Moshe, as we know, and his descendants. Sure. And with that, Aaron had the honor of being the high priest, the Kohen, and that was placed on him. Now, we're going to go on with this again tomorrow, Abba willing. I hope this has blessed you, and I hope it helps you see things a little more clearer. It certainly has me. But until we meet again, keep your wicks trimmed, your lanterns full, and remember to be blessed, and always, always, always to be a blessing.